Here's Dan Shapiro to help you find your edge, master your process, and own your future.
Good evening. Welcome to another edition of the AccessTrader.com nightly update. I didn't record a video last night. You're probably saying to yourself, well, it's Thursday. Dan, why are you on? Well, I didn't record a video last night because I felt like I needed to save you guys 15 minutes of your life discussing the Fed. We already knew the 25 basis points were coming. We already knew the market was going to go up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. Your guess is as good as mine how it was going to close. And then yada, 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 here we are. So again, thank you guys for tuning in. But last night would have been complete waste of time. You could have seen 1,000 different, 2,000, 10,000 different outlets discussing the Fed. Anyway, let's talk about today, right? NASDAQ closes all-time highs once again. Let me know if you heard that before. Some interesting news, right? Interesting news. For all you guys who started trading in 1999, right? That's the end of 98, 99, I started trading, right? Right when the internet craze was kicking off, right? We didn't know it at that time, but that was going to be the greatest market of our lives. That's not an opinion, right? So 25 years ago was the internet craze, right? And that goes all the way down to right around here, okay? So if you notice this whole area here, right? This whole area here is roughly around 33, 35 bucks. Why is that important? Well, 25 years later, the stock is still lower. Right? So if you invested $1,000, or you're so savvy enough to invest $1,000 into Intel 25 years ago, you're almost green. But all jokes aside, I woke up this morning and I saw Intel up 35%. I go, huh? Okay. Apparently, they've been in works with Nvidia for the last year or so of working on kind of a deal, kind of an investment. And Nvidia dumped $5 billion into Tesla. Excuse me, Freudian slip. Nvidia's dropped $5 billion into an investment in Intel. They see the future. They see what nobody else sees. They definitely see what longtime investors of a quarter of a century don't see. But here we are. Intel had its biggest move in 38 years. And it's still $5 lower than their internet craze. Do what you want with that information. But as you can imagine, there were good things on that news and there were bad things on the news. The good news is Intel obviously exploded. And the better news for Nvidia, the actual stock that I'm interested in, it got back above the 50-day moving average. If you watched it yesterday, the stock looked like it was about to fall off a cliff. And this news came, and today it reclaimed not only a 50-day moving average, not only the 20-day moving average, but the 5-day moving average. And this is now a very, very important session going into tomorrow. If you draw this imaginary trend line, right? They don't have it on e-signal, but if you draw this imaginary trend line, we need to get back above the highs of today's channel. Why is that? It's going to take down this whole downtrend and open things up. We did see some pretty aggressive call buying coming in on Nvidia for tomorrow's expiration and for next week's expiration for the 180s, for the 185s. Definitely. Again, I don't want to make it bigger than it is, but it's kind of important that Nvidia does not give it everything back. Regardless, I don't know how their investment's going to be in Intel a year from now, 2 years from now, 10 years from now. But tomorrow is a very, very important day because if it could stay and start building above all the levels that it got above today, it could be a very, very good starting point, breaking this mini downtrend to go back to its earnings and 52-week highs. Let's talk about some other names, right, guys? I want to give you guys some setups. I don't want to sit here, draw everything out. Let me give you guys some setups. Okay, there's no point for me to sit there for 10 minutes talking about how big the market is. The market's good. You had Bitcoin stocks, right? You had Bitcoin stocks going crazy today. MSTR, right? MSTR, although, again, it was not out of the woods, not even close. Again, you can see here, we're below the 50-day moving average. But MSTR reclaimed back the 20, the 150, and got rejected all the way up to here, which is the 50-day EMA. The key for this thing is to get above the 50-day SMA. Now, we did see tomorrow's expiration come in for the 355s and the 360 and the 365 calls. Is there a day two in these Bitcoin derivative stocks? We shall see, said the blind man. We shall see. Coinbase actually did reclaim back the 50-day moving average, and that's very, very important from the technical area. Now, Coinbase's job is don't give it back, right? It closed above the 50-day, do not give it back. Is it possible it has an inside day tomorrow, maybe goes sideways? Of course, but ultimately Coinbase needs to get back above today's channel. If it can get back above today's channel, it can fill in this whole gap here from its earnings. I don't want to use the word disaster, but earnings blip. So very, very important. Again, we saw some pretty good Coinbase flow as well. The key is now do not give back the 50-day moving average. Let's talk about some other names, right? Meta. So I traded Meta today. Very frustrating. And let me tell you why I was frustrated. So we saw some $800 calls come in. We actually have been seeing some $800 calls coming in for the whole week. And the stock opened, up $1, down $1, whatever the case may be, and they started walking it up. So I get long the stock, and there was literally a reload seller, literally a reload seller above that 785, 786 level, literally for 15 minutes. Now, unlike every other stock, Nvidia, Tesla, Amazon that trades in a couple of pennies risk, right? Couple of pennies with a lot of liquidity. As you know, Meta, especially in trading on the equity side, trades sometimes in a 30, 40, 50 cent spread, 100 shares up. There's no liquidity. So if you're wrong and you run into a reload seller, you're not going to lose 50 cents. You're going to lose $15. So I got long Meta, went up like $1.50, and then this seller came in, just wouldn't let go. I got out of the trade. Stock obviously, closed $5 lower than I purchased it, but I want to watch it again tomorrow. Again, all these weekly call buyers that are coming in for the 800s, is it possible they got rid of the reload seller today? Again, to be determined, but I have to watch it. It's my duty to watch this thing, just because if there is no seller and they start firing through today's channels tomorrow, maybe we will see the August highs. And if it gets through the August highs, maybe this thing can go. We did see, like I said, we saw some aggressive 800 weeklies, and we saw some 810s for next week. Again, my duty, continue to watch. But again, if there is any sign of a reload seller in a Meta, do not give it a lot of time. See if it can get through. And if it can't, there's a reason why there's a reload seller. Don't play games with this thing. Let's talk about Circle. Actually, you know what? Before we talk about Circle, let's go down memory lane. Do you guys remember like 2 weeks ago, right around here, we were talking about odd buyer came in for the 100 weeklies, 100 weeklies, 100 weeklies, 110 weeklies, 115s, right, for next week. And the stock just went absolutely nuts. Guys, look at Circle. Circle is obviously below the 50-day moving average, which is 157.85. So obviously it's not a technical trade yet. However, a buyer came in twice today. First, he bought 2,000 of next week's 150 calls. That's very important. He bought it for about $500-600 grand. He then came back with $900,000 for exactly the same bet. So there's a buyer on the table for next week's 150 weeklies. Let's watch this thing, because if this thing can reclaim back, if it can reclaim back the 150 EMA, this thing can wake up. Again, let's definitely keep an eye on that as well. I don't want to piss anybody off. All right, let's talk about some other names, right? Let's talk about some other names. So let's talk about some other names. Look at BKSY, right? Look at BKSY. BKSY, we talked about this a couple of days ago, and this thing is just flagging now above the 50-day moving average. Guys, keep an eye on this thing. If this thing could just, I'll even give you the price, right? If this thing could just start building above $20, you see this whole flag here above the 50-day? If this thing could get above $20 and stay there, this thing could really open up. Last time that it got out of a big range, this thing went from literally $13 all the way up to almost $29. Guys, watch the $20 area on this thing. If this thing starts going, maybe this thing can wake up as well. Again, Nvidia, I am definitely watching. PLTR went out of its mind today. out of its mind today. Big buyers, 180 weeklies coming in. Keep an eye on this thing above today's range for tomorrow. And look at SHLS, right? Look at SHLS. Usually, this is not something I would look at, but there was some pretty aggressive buyers came in. Notably, a guy came in for 5,379 contracts of the November $8 calls. This thing is flagging. It's not expanding yet. It hit the upper Bollinger Band. Watch this thing for potential expansion in the next couple of days. All right, let's talk about it. All right. So Tesla had a monster run, right? Gun to my head, I think this thing sees 450, 475 in the next 2-3 weeks, right? Gun to my head, right? This is the first real red day we saw for this thing, okay? I would like to see it. I'm not going to say the other word, but I would like to see this thing rest. Can we say that? Oh, you guys going to be mad at me if I say that? Right? I'd like to see it rest for 2-3 days. Just kind of go sideways, right? Because the longer it could go sideways and get its feet underneath himself, the higher probability the stock will get another burst of energy, like Popeye eating his spinach, and start blasting off. The options market slowed down a little bit compared to what we saw last week leading up to this phenomenal move. It slowed down a little bit, which also is actually telling me that, again, they're tired as well. The key to any resumption, especially a stock that had a massive move, is nonstop order flow. You guys remember when right before Tesla opened up, went crazy? 350, 360, 350, 360s, 400, 410s, right? 390s. They were going nuts. Today, the action in the options market slowed down. So that basically tells me is the options market is kind of tired as well. We want to see this thing go sideways for the next 2-3 days. If it can go sideways for the next 2-3 days, I do believe it can wake up by sometime by next week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, start taking out levels and start resuming one of the greatest 3-day moves in Tesla that I can remember in the last several years. So am I a bad guy for talking about for potentially stalling out? I don't think so. It's just kind of reality. Stocks don't go straight up. They don't go straight down. Buyers get tired. Sellers get tired. It's the natural progression of the universe. So I will watch Tesla for the next couple of days. Look for an area that I can take advantage of. That's all I'm going to say. And hopefully by next Tuesday, next Wednesday, it gets its energy back, starts resuming, and we have our next great move up. Guys, have a great Thursday. God bless everybody. Stay well, stay healthy, and I'll see you all on the field tomorrow. Take care.